Are you thinking about buying your first home and you're unsure about the lending process, or you've heard a lot about VA loans and you don't know what sets them apart from a conventional loan? Well, we're going to be breaking down everything you need to know about the mortgage process in today's video. Hey everyone, I'm Lezli Milner. I'm a local real estate agent here in Corpus Christi, and I'm joined with Renee and Rebecca from First Community Mortgage, and they're going to be letting you know the key steps of the lending process, how your credit score affects your loan, and letting you know how to find the best interest rates. They're also going to be letting you know some common mistakes to avoid and how to prepare for your closing costs. And if you're military, be sure to stick around because they're going to be talking about some misconceptions about VA loans and talking about the benefits that they offer. So I'm super excited to have Renee and Rebecca on and get into these questions. So I want to start with this question first. Can you just explain the general lending process for first-time home buyers and just let them know what steps they should expect to go through?
Yes. So first of all, thank you, Lezli, for having us on your YouTube channel. Renee and I are super excited to be here.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So going back to the question, we do like to break it down into 5 simple steps. The first one being the pre-approval process. We definitely like to get with a customer, go over sales price, go over interest rate, go over payment information, make sure they're comfortable with all of that before they go to their phase 2, which is their shopping. That is where they start doing all the fun stuff with a realtor. You get to go see houses, you get to see old, new,
the best part.
Yes. Yeah. So you actually get to go see all of these houses on the market. A third would be the underwriting process. That is where we start gathering additional documentation from you, start asking you for a little bit of the more detailed, I guess you would say, documents. 4 would be the clear to close. That is where we get to the closing table. You actually sign. And 5 would be the celebration. Yeah. That is where we all get to celebrate at the closing table, give you the keys, and you've made it through the process of home ownership.
So 5 simple steps for buyers to go through to get the home of their dreams is what it sounds like.
Yes. 5 simple steps. It's all we ask for.
Awesome. And I'm glad that it's just 5 simple steps because a lot of people think, it's this long drawn out process. So I'm glad that you really broke it down and it's super simple for people to really understand. And a lot of people also are curious about their credit scores, right? If it's too good, if it's not good, where should it be? What should I do? So can you just explain how your credit score impacts the lending process and what buyers can do to improve their credit score before applying for a loan?
Yes, so that is actually a really great question. We get that question asked a lot. And one of the things as lenders that we do recommend is for you to download the Credit Karma app. That app is completely free. Although sometimes we don't get the most accurate scores, everything else is pretty accurate in there. As far as your medical collections, just collections overall, how many times you run the credit, all of that does take an impact on your credit score. So just make sure that you're tracking all of that, trying to run your credit as minimum as possible, that we were able to get the best loan product for you.
And just to kind of add into that, so the Credit Karma app isn't going to give us the exact same score that you see on the app, but it's a really great tool because just like Rebecca just said, if it's showing it go up, it's actually going up. If it's showing it going down, it's really going down too. So it's a good tool to use. You just can't completely depend on it for the actual score.
Right. Okay. But it is something to base it off of. So someone does have a reference point, which is a good starting point because once they get connected with you, then they'll really know their course of action, which is a nice thing. Now, could you just go over what buyers will typically need to prepare for applying for a loan?
Yeah, so that's another thing that we like to keep super simple. We don't like to ask for a lot of information from the customer once they start doing the initial process. So we do like to use the 222 rule, pretty basic information. We like to gather 2 years of W-2s, your 2 most recent bank statements, and your 2 most recent check stubs. So just keep it super simple. That way we're able to know and have a complete application to let you know what your max budget is. And if you would like to max your budget, or that is where we start handling a little bit more of the transaction.
Awesome.
I think there's so many times that buyers, especially first-time home buyers, are intimidated by the process. Like Rebecca said, we try to just keep it as simple and streamlined as possible.
Yeah, I think it's super simple having it the 222, and it makes the buyers really just remember, hey, I just need 2 documents of this, 2 of this, 2 of that,
Yeah.
which it's already an overwhelming process, right? So you don't want to just bring more onto the buyers and where they're like so stressed out. So I'm really glad y'all keep it super simple. Now, once they have everything ready, right, all the documents, the next big step is pre-approval. So can you just explain how the pre-approval process works and why it is important for buyers to go through that process?
Yeah, so us as lenders, we kind of hype up the pre-approval just because it is kind of your gateway to know what you're comfortable with before you actually do some shopping. We've talked to several people or just several realtors that are actually looking with their buyer and they don't know their budget. They don't know what price point they're comfortable with. They don't know what payment they're comfortable with. So that is where the pre-approval does come into effect. We definitely like to go over sales price with you, what sales price you're comfortable with, what payment you're comfortable with, what interest rate you're comfortable with. All of that is something that we do want to discuss with you. That way, whenever you do go do your shopping, you already know what you're comfortable with.
And kind of, again, just to elaborate on that, I think when people get pre-approved, it's a super exciting moment. And so I can tell you, hey, you're pre-approved for $800,000. But when we start narrowing it down to what you're comfortable paying monthly, those are two completely different conversations. So we really like to make sure you're comfortable with the payment, the cash to close, the, like she said, the interest rate. So like she said, we hype it up, you're approved for this amount, but ultimately you're the one they're the ones making the payment. So we have to make sure they're comfortable overall.
Right. And it's good to just cover all the bases and let them know all the information up front so that way they feel more comfortable throughout the process, because that's another thing. If you're just going to look at houses and hoping, hey, I can hopefully afford this $500,000 house, but you can't, then you're just hopeful thinking. And it's better to just go in there and, okay, this is what I can afford. Do I like this? Do I not like this? And just makes the process more simple, in my opinion.
And kind of on the flip side of that too, you don't want to sell yourself short, because you might be thinking, oh, I can only afford $2,000 a month, so I can probably only buy this budget. But once you talk to a lender and you look at all the numbers and you see how everything plays into the monthly payment, it's like, oh, wow, I can actually push it a little bit more than what I thought. So that's why it's always good to have a good conversation with the lender.
Right. I love that. And another thing that buyers have been really watching are interest rates, right? So can you guys just kind of talk a little bit about the role interest rates play in the mortgage and how you can find the best rates right now?
So us as lenders actually have a great communication with our investors. So we're able to do all the shopping for you. We understand that getting a mortgage can already be a little bit stressful. So we try to help as much as we can. So with us working with First Community Mortgage, we do have a wide of investors that we do work with in order to get you the best rate possible. So
awesome. That's so great to hear that you can shop around. You'll have those relationships to get the best rates for your buyers. Now, when it comes to the lending process, though, I know there's some common pitfalls, right? Or mistakes that buyers should avoid. And can you just kind of touch on those? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know those things of what to avoid and what to do. So can you just kind of touch on that?
Yes. So I think both of us can kind of agree on this one.
Like you asked the question and I see a sign that says pitfalls, like avoid this, don't do that.
For sure. So one, I guess, big one would just be to have an open communication with your lender. Either way, throughout the process, we're with you for a minimum of 20 days with you from the beginning to the end. So a minimum of 20 days. So throughout those 20 days, believe it or not, we find out a lot. So just be open with us. We understand life happens. So we understand that sometimes you may lose your job, or you might get a new car, a new vehicle, a new credit card. So just kind of have that open relationship with your lender. Our bottom line, our goal is to get you to the closing table. So the sooner you let us know of any pitfalls or of anything happening within your credit, just let us know. That way we're able to resolve it and just get you to the closing table on time.
I think with social media and TikTok and all those things, there's so many different lines of resources, and people kind of self-educate themselves on things. So whenever you read, don't go buy a new car, don't switch jobs, don't do this, those are definitely things that shouldn't happen. But again, like she said, life happens. And so if those things do come up, if you get a great job opportunity, or God forbid you wreck your car and you need a new one, just have those conversations with your lender. And because if we know from the beginning then we can make sure that you still get to the closing table without any issues.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, we're humans too. We're also, in the mortgage industry, in the real estate world. So we're human. We get it. Life happens. So just let us know. That's all we ask for, open communication. And I think that's the best because people want to kind of hide, oh, I'm not going to tell them, I'll just get it fixed and it won't affect me. No, it will affect you. Just reach out and we'll work it. So that way we can get you to the closing table or adjust your timeline or whatever it is.
Just know that that's our goal for you. Also.
Right.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. Now, I'd like to turn to Renee for a couple of the questions. So, Renee, as buyers get closer to the closing table, they have to prepare for closing costs, right? So, could you just share some advice on how buyers can prepare for the closing costs and what are some common expenses that they should anticipate?
So closing costs, my biggest recommendation is always to save as much as possible, because depending on the market that you're purchasing in, sometimes you might be dealing with a seller that's willing to pay all the closing costs. But if you've saved money and you have that savings, then you can use it for furniture or a housewarming party or whatever you want to use it for. Or you might be in a very competitive market where you have to be prepared to pay your own closing costs. So if you save, then you'll have the advantage of being able to make a more competitive offer or ultimately just have money in your savings account when you close. And so that's something that I always recommend, is just to save as much as possible through the process. Some of the common costs that they have are going to be like earnest money, option money, maybe even an appraisal fee. So there is some upfront costs that buyers do have. So the more you can save, the better position you're going to be in.
Yeah. For sure. We try to limit as much as possible as we can. We try to save you on closing costs. We try to save you on anything where we can. But the more you save, the more that you'll have at the end.
Right, I love that. And I think it's so important for buyers to save because a lot of buyers, like first-time home buyers, they can't save a lot, or some can. It really just depends on your situation. So having that extra cushion is a big game changer. Like you said, in a competitive market, it can really make your offer stand out. And, even if the seller covers your closing costs, hey, you have more room for a washer and dryer if needed, or a refrigerator, couch, housewarming party, which is a great bonus. So with so many loan options available, can you walk us through what some of the factors that buyers should consider when choosing between the different loan types?
Some factors that they definitely should consider is, what are they going to use the home for? Are they going to use it as a primary home, an investment property? Are they going to use it as a second home, maybe like a beach home? Because primarily there's 4 loan types. There's conventional, there's FHA, USDA, and VA. VA goes without saying, is for our veterans. Thank you to our veterans out there that have served.
Thank you.
Yeah, so selflessly for our families. And then there is FHA. FHA is more of a first-time home buyer loan. It can be partnered with things like down payment assistance. It has the least down payment requirement. You can stretch the debt to income ratio further. If you have more challenging credit, then that's the loan type for you. USDA is going to be more of like an agricultural type loan, like maybe out on the outskirts of town. That one, the property has to definitely qualify just as much as the borrower does. And then conventional does give you the most flexibility when it comes to what the house will be used for, like the second home, like the investment property. You might find the perfect house that needs a little TLC. Well, then we have a loan option for that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for explaining the different loan types because there's so many, and I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what goes into the loan types and what they're for and down payment requirements and all that good stuff. So could you maybe expand a little bit like on FHA and conventional on what the down payment requirement is for people to really understand and know?
Yeah, for sure. So FHA, like I said, has the least down payment requirement. Typically, it's only 3.5%. There are special conventional loan programs that do allow you to just come in with 3%. And so that one's also an option. A lot of people, a common misconception is if you do a conventional loan, you need 20% down, and that is absolutely not true. So you definitely can do less than 20% down. Of course, you'll have the more affordable payment with the less you put down because obviously the less you're borrowing. But yeah, there's definitely different options when it comes to the down payment. And FHA, actually, you can also do as little as 0% down, because we do have what's called down payment assistance that can help cover that down payment for you. So even though the requirement is 3.5%, it can be covered through the program. And that way you're literally coming in with 0 down payment.
Yeah.
Wow. That's huge. And just knowing that that's available, I feel like to some people is a lot, right? Because they're like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be even able to do the closing costs and all the little nitty gritty costs that the buyers have to cover. And they're just like, oh, I'll just wait. But knowing that really helps say, hey, there is options. Just connect with us and let's see what we can do for you. Or if not, let's get you on a plan so we can get you to that home ownership stage. Exactly. And that really leads me into my...
Well, one of the things that I wanted to add, a lot of people come into our office and also ask us, like, what are your loan products? What is the difference between loan products? So just come in, talk to us. We're more than happy to go into a little bit more detail as far as what the different products are that we have, that we were able to match you with the correct product based on the kind of property you're getting.
Awesome. And that really leads me into my next question now. Are there any local programs here or incentives that you guys have access to that can really assist the home buyers in securing financing?
Yeah. So Rebecca and I actually have a very unique ability, is that we're able to loan in all 50 states through First Community Mortgage. But local programs here in Corpus Christi, Texas, being in Texas, we do partner with what's called Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation, TSHAC for short. I was recognized as one of the top 10 lenders the past 2 years in a row. So I do have a lot of experience with that program. And what that does is it will pay the down payment for you. And then it can also offer what's called a tax credit. And so it's kind of like a child tax credit when you file your taxes, where you put extra money in your pocket at the end of the year. So that's a really great program. We also have several different options. There's a down payment assistance program and closing cost assistance program through the city of Corpus Christi. And so we are able to offer that as well.
Awesome. Well, congratulations for being one of the top loan officers in that program. That is so good to know that you have access to that and you are knowledgeable in the VA loans. And I really want to shift gears more into the VA loans now and really talk about it, because Corpus obviously has a strong military community with the base here. So can you just talk about some misconceptions on VA loans that you often see and encounter?
So 2 huge common misconceptions that come to mind when I think VA is, number one, I think a lot of sellers think that a VA buyer has to go through a completely different appraisal process, which is not true. VA is just another government-backed loan, so they still do the same kind of appraisal that they would on FHA or even USDA. So it's not more strict. It's not a more strict appraisal process, definitely not. Another one, like we were just talking about, the down payment assistance program, there's not a down payment requirement for a veteran buyer. However, there are still closing costs. And so closing costs do come out of the veteran's pocket if the seller doesn't pay. But what's really cool about that program that a lot of people don't know is you can partner them together. Yep, you can partner them together. And so then we're providing the VA buyer to come in with 0 down payment and then potentially 0 closing costs out of pocket.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really great to hear, because that's a little, give back to the veterans that give all to us. So that's really amazing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's great to hear that you're able to partner them together to really help.
That's the least we can do for our veterans. I mean, let them come in with 0 down payment if possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I love that. Now, can you also kind of talk about, specific benefits for VA loans compared to conventional loans? Because I know there's a little confusion for some people, and are there any unique eligibility requirements for both?
Okay, so the VA buyer, I think we've said it like 50,000 times at this point, but they don't have a down payment requirement. So that's a huge benefit to the veteran, is that they don't have to put any money down. The other thing is they don't have what's called mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is put on the loan anytime that you put less than 20% down. So on FHA, the mortgage insurance is on for the life of the loan. So that's an extra cost to the buyer for putting less money down. And conventional, it falls off once you have at least 80% or 20% equity. And so a VA buyer doesn't have that additional cost. So not only do they not have the down payment requirement, but then they also don't have that additional monthly payment requirement built into the monthly payment.
Well, that's great to know, because I feel like a little people don't really understand, but I'm glad you guys got to clear that up. Now, my last question for you guys is, what resources do you guys provide at First Community Mortgage for buyers, and what can you let them know about how you could take them through the lending process and help them?
I think our number one resource is us. We're
available.
Yeah, we're available. We're accessible. I'm not going to say that we work 24 hours a day because that would just be silly, right? But I think our families do know and respect the fact that we work when other people don't work, because the reality of the situation is, if you're buying a house and you're at work, well, you're probably not going to be calling me during the day. Yeah. So they typically call after hours and the weekends, just like you probably show property after hours and the weekends. Yeah. So just being accessible, we've pushed and pushed about how you should have a good relationship and be open and honest with your lender. But how can you do that if you're not accessible? So our number one is definitely accessibility. And then of course we have online presence, we have an app, and we try to make the process, like Rebecca said earlier, as easy and seamless as possible.
Awesome. I love to hear that you guys are available to the buyers. Y'all are open to communicating. Hey, people know if you're in this industry, you're going to be working almost 24/7, always after hours, because those people are at work, right? They don't have time to just be calling while they're at their jobs. So I love that you guys are accessible, and I love that your families are okay with it and they understand, because, you know, it takes a village around here to really.
It does. It's teamwork.
Really does.
It's teamwork for sure.
We try to involve everybody from the realtor to our underwriter to our customer to the lender. So it really does take a teamwork to make it happen.
And I think ultimately, like what I've said from the very beginning is, I do this every day. So if I went and did a nurse's job or someone else's job, I would be completely lost, right? So if I know that my clients are at home having dinner and they're like, hey, do we need homeowners insurance? Should we be shopping for that? It's a simple question that they can call us and say, hey, do I need homeowners insurance? Yes, you do. Okay, well, that's eliminated the stress for the evening. Mm-hmm. You have enough going on. You don't need to be worrying about little stuff like that.
Simple text that you can send that it'll probably take us 2 to 3 seconds to answer.
And you know, if they don't send it, it's just going to be weighing on them.
Exactly.
Okay, when am I going to ask them? I'll ask them the next time, and then they forget, and it's like, oh, dang it, I never asked. So just send the text, you know, that's what we're here for. And well, I appreciate you guys coming onto the channel today and really sharing y'all's insights with my channel and the viewers, and really helping them get a better understanding of the lending process.
Thank you for having us. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
All right, that wraps up our conversation today. I want to give a big thank you again to Renee and Rebecca from First Community Mortgage for coming on the channel and sharing their expertise. If you have any questions about the lending process or the real estate market here in the area, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our contact information will be in the description below. And if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like and click that little notification bell so that way you can stay updated on all the weekly content that I put out about the area. Again, I'm Lezli Milner, and I'll see you in the next video.